Gotta let them know I'm uncontrollable.
Hello guys, welcome back to another Lumley trading recap. Today is March 22nd. We did quite well. We made $305 or 0.82% on the account. And yeah, we took 4 trades, or I think 5 trades on 4 tickers. And yeah, we'll get straight into it. Ignore this $3 AESE, as I'm going to go through that at the end, because that's not so much the normal strategy I trade, and it's something I'm looking out for, which you would have seen if you watched the video on the weekend where I said I'm trying to find a new, or add to the strategy which is more risk focused, because this one obviously you can take on quite a bit of risk. That one will have a set amount of risk, but yeah, so I'll get into that in the end when I go over that trade. So the first trade was on STON, or not the first trade, I'll go from biggest winner to smallest. For $230, we essentially just did our first average in at 473, which was the second deviation on the 4 hour, and then added in another 500 shares coming, or 1,000 shares, sorry, coming into, oh no, we sold another 500 coming into the last deviation on the daily. Again, the plan I do have written is you should always double the size on the second average. I keep not doing it, even though I know it statistically works. I just don't think I'm at that point where I feel comfortable trading with that amount of capital that early on. So I may get there in the future, but obviously it would have made the trade a lot more profitable, but you know, easier always to see it in hindsight. So yeah, we basically bought here. We rode it up to this 437. We weren't looking to average in anymore until the 567 didn't hit there, faded down, and we looked in our profits coming into 475, which is just around the 9 EMA, because our average was, you know, around the 490, so we could look to make that 20 cents, and it allowed us to make quite a good amount of profit. So the next trade was on, or the next trade was MRKR. Quick and easy trade. I got rid of the line. This 311 on the 4 hour, and the same on the, roughly the same price on the daily, so it looked like a strong resistance. However, it did break through, so we got filled 500 shares. We weren't looking to do any averaging until the 553 mark. So break through here, we kind of rode it up to this 330, but you know, we weren't averaging points, so it didn't really matter. And then we kind of just watched it and we sold into the fade. We would have looked for more profits, but then that STON move came and it looked a lot stronger, and something I liked a bit more. So we were already profitable on the trade, so I kind of just cut out. As you can see, it's kind of a mix between, I don't like to be in 2 trades at once, so we sold that, then we sold that, and so I just got out quickly on the MRKR because I don't want to be in 2 trades at once, and we were already profitable, so we didn't really need to stay in it. The next trade was on KUKE. We actually traded this twice. So the first trade we took was on this original momentum move. It popped up onto our scanner in this halt, and then it unhalted, and I went to go short once we got into this area of weakness, and we shorted it at 870. So we shorted this area here. It was just showing weakness, so we got in, which it ended up falling down, and we locked in our profits coming into the 760 and 7040 mark for an average of 750. So we averaged our profit taking here. Did the next move, again we looked really short, we had a divergence, so I was happy to short, so we shorted at the whole dollar resistance, I believe 949 and 950. So yeah, we shorted some here and shorted the rest into this move here, and then again sold into the fade around the $40 to $45 mark, so around this area here. So basically just a 9 EMA. We had a divergence, so that's why we traded it again. Otherwise I usually don't trade the same stock twice, but it looked weak. And so that's it for all the normal trades. Now I'm going to go over AESE and the other strategy. So if you only care about the recap, that's it. Now I'm going to go over the strategy I'm looking into adapting, so you can kind of see where my mindset is while we're trying to make sure it's profitable over a certain amount of time. So the first one, actually we can just do it because we're already on it, is KUKE. And it's when it starts closing below the 20 EMA, we get a bounce, a tap back to the 20 EMA. Can go through if it wants. but we're looking for it to come straight back down within like 10 minutes or so, which it did. And then when it breaks a new low, I would look to go short. So at this 9.25 mark, I would look to go short. And then you can see here it worked quite well, faded down, and our stop loss would be at this high here. And a lot of these, they seem to be really profitable. So on this, you might not have a 1-to-1 risk ratio, you might have maybe like a 1 to 0.5. However, you will be moving your stop to break even relatively quick in the trade, so your losses are very minimal. You should barely be having any. So you actually should be around like 80 to 90% on this trading strategy. Because yeah, as soon as you're down like say 10, 15 to 20 cents on the trade, you just move your stop to break even and maybe lock in a little bit of profit. But yeah, that's the first fade. However, we had quite a few of these today. I was just keeping an eye out so I can watch them live to make sure it's easy to, not only is it easy to see in hindsight, but I can also detect them live. So AESE was the one we actually traded. We only did 50 shares, I believe. Yeah, 50 shares. So we were never looking for a dollar amount. I was just trading it live so I could see it. So we took the AESE trade at about 10. So let me just go over to 10, which was around this area here. So we took it, yeah, 10.05. Why does that look? Oh, it's because we're on the wrong day. 10.05. So let's zoom back out real quick. Okay, so yeah, what we were looking at, actually I'll zoom out, we've already got a resistance line so I know exactly where it is. We've got a bit of momentum, obviously it was a gapping stock, came down, pulled below, closed below the 20, bounced back up to the 20 and then faded back down below, and again that's what we were looking exactly for. So we went short 1 cent below just so it wasn't a double bottom, or most likely wasn't a double bottom. Faded down and again faded straight down. Here you can see it kind of came down and then went back to break even. As I've only had such small size, I was kind of just trading it just to make sure it kind of worked. But what most likely would have happened in this kind of trade, if we're doing large size, is probably locked in some profit around this 95 area and then moved our stops to break even. So it probably would have been a small winner if we were doing big size, but would have worked overall. And again, we saw it again on STON. I was trying to trade this, but we had short locate problems when it came to trade it, so couldn't trade it. But again, it's the same thing, closed, you can see. Let me try and make this a bit wider. You can see it closed just barely below the 20, bounced back up. So if it broke back down, I would be looking to trade, which it did. Broke down to this 420 and then kind of came back to this resistance or my entry point, and then faded back down. Again, we would have locked in profits and probably closed half up a size, if not all, and then had a break even stop on the rest. And then the last one was DYAI, and again the same kind of thing. Had a bit of a push in the morning, but I mean it was already gapping up. We were already up like 40 or so percent on the stock, came down. You can see we're below the 20 this whole time. This time we actually had to wait a while for it to come. Got its bounce back to the 20, and then I was looking to short the low. Again, this had a short locate problem, but even though, you know, if you're trading and there's no short, obviously you wouldn't be able to trade it, but it's more just making sure this works over a set amount of time and on multiple stocks. But yeah, we got that tap back to the 20 and then a new low, and then you can see it's quite a common occurrence that this is when you get that big red candle kind of flushing out of it. And again, that was like an instant 25 cent, 26 cent profit in one candle. So it definitely would have locked in profits there and moved to a break-even stop. So, you know, it kind of consolidated around here, pushed to a lower low. So maybe even locked in more here, and then even if we did have any position left, we would have got a break-even stop here to close out the rest. So that's it for the recap today. $305, pretty happy on the day, testing out the new strategy alongside it while we're looking also trading the normal strategy. So definitely be watching the recaps if you want to keep up to date, and you can kind of see how I find a strategy that may be profitable and then start analyzing it, finding maybe its strengths and weaknesses so I can adapt it ready for when I'm looking to use live and real or bigger sizes on it. So that's it for the recap. Hope to see you in the next one, and that's it. Peace.
That if I get working and grinding, now I will be flying away on a private jet. And we stuck in here saying maybe one